So, can we appreciate the fact that I matched my eye jewels to my sweater?
Pull my heart out of my chest, train my mind so I forget. Sink your teeth into my bones, dig me out, then fill the hole.
Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel. So for today's video we have something a little bit different. Growing up, I loved watching America's Next Top Model. I can remember to this day, like either during the summer or after school, staying at my grandparents' house, and while my grandfather was taking a nap, sitting in his recliner and watching episodes. And even now, me and my aunt talk about it because she's watched all of the seasons, so we talk about it. She knows a lot more than I do, though. But yeah, all of that to say, that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. So recently, these series of videos popped up. I will have the playlist listed down below by this girl named Jessica. She is a professional photographer, and what she does is she watches different photo shoots from America's Next Top Model and just talks about them, says, like, gives her opinion, things that happened to her, etc., etc. They're really interesting. Go watch them. Since then, I have discovered some things that I didn't even remember that happened in the show. I've seen how problematic it was. You know, these are things that we all know now about the show. All of that to say, you know, once I become attached to something, I become obsessed with it. So I was watching a bunch of old America's Next Top Model clips besides those, like any information that I could find. And I found one, I can't remember exactly the actual subject matter that it dealt with besides America's Next Top Model, but they were talking to Manuel, I don't really know how to pronounce his last name, I've heard it both ways, who was the creative director for most of the series, and he wrote a book. I did not know that. And as soon as I heard that, it piqued my interest. I was like, I must read said book. So I bought said book, read said book, and we're going to talk about it because he still claims to this day that it is satire. It's satire. It's not real, not based on my experience. It's satire. Jay, do you think we're stupid? Do you think we're dumb? Let me tell you, I have done extensive research on this, and let me just get this out here. Like, I'm not 100% saying that this book is true, but I'm just showing what is said in the book, what I found in real life. Take that as you will. You know, it's allegations, I guess. But anyway, we are going to talk about this book. I'm going to try not to give spoilers in case you want to read it. I found my copy on Thrift Books. I love that place. I'll talk about that more in a future video. But yeah, I wrote a lot more notes than what we're going to cover, but then I ultimately decided to only cover things that I could find hard factual information for because I'm a facts person. But I would definitely give this book a read if you are a big America's Next Top Model fan, because he kind of alleged some things in here, which if they're true, interesting. But anyway, let us go ahead and dive in. I realized that my lipstick wore off and I forgot to reapply it, so if my lips look different, that's why. But anyway, so let's talk about the cover of the book. Is this not the font that they use for the America's Next Top Model logos and everything? Like, is that not the font? Also, is that not Jay? Does that not look like him? So, you know, he says that the main character is not him, but I mean, like, that looks like him. So, the first thing that we're going to be talking about is the characters in the book. So obviously you have who I believe is supposed to be Jay's character, who is Pablo. The reason I say that he is, like, they don't have the exact same background, but they knew Tyra previously. Oh, Big Mama just got down. Do you want out? Okay. Anyway, where I was, they knew Tyra previously, and he comes onto the show as the creative director, Pablo, and has to dye his hair silver. So there's that. And then we have who I believe is Tyra's character, and her name is Keisha Cash, both with K's. The reason I say that I believe that's Tyra, besides like the similarities, Tyra's last name is Banks, Keisha Cash, Banks. I mean, we could have been a little bit more creative than that, but there are just a lot of similarities that we'll talk about later, that you can tell that Keisha is supposed to be Tyra, but Keisha is a supermodel. She's the one who comes up with the idea of the show, is the host of the show. I mean, it's pretty obvious that that's Tyra. So then we have the judges. I'm just going to be talking about the judges because, like, there's one piece of evidence for the judges that I've found that's like. So we have Miss Thang, who has coached almost every great supermodel on her walk, who I believe is supposed to be Miss J. Oh my gosh. Hello, Tater. But anyway, I believe that Miss Thang is supposed to be Miss J because Miss Thang is the supermodel coach, or walking coach, and I believe that's what Miss J does in real life. I know that he did that on the show. Is he still a he? I'm not sure. I'll just say he because that's how I know, or they, I don't know. We'll just say Miss J. That is what Miss J does on the show, so I would assume that is what that is supposed to be, or that's who that's supposed to be. And then we also have the fashion photographer Mason Hughes, who is the uber blonde Brit. Now that doesn't sound like Nigel Barker, except for the Brit part and the fact that he is a photographer. So all I'm going to say is there's some things in here about the Mason character that if they're true, I'm like, no wonder that you were saying that this is satire. That's all I want to say about that. And then lastly, this is the one that I read it, that I instantly got the idea to do this video. We have Sasha Berenson, who is the undisputed highest paid supermodel of the world, who I believe is supposed to be, I totally blanked on her name. The reason why I believe that that's who this is supposed to be is they said that Sasha Berenson is going to be their Simon Cowell for the TV show, which is called Model Muse in the book. There is literally, I will insert it here.
I was asked to be the Simon Cowell on that show.
That I have found where Janice Dickinson is saying, I was the Simon Cowell of the show. Like, can we make it a little more obvious? So that is the first little piece of evidence I've found. So another thing is that the main characters, Pablo and Keisha, eat ice cream together all throughout the book, and there is one tiny little scene in America's Next Top Model, which I honestly came about by chance, and I'll just insert it here.
Ice cream happens to be one of both Tyra and my favorite treats.
Again, take with that as you will. So another thing that happened is Pablo in the book, because it's third person, but it's through the perspective of Pablo, if that makes sense, like you're following Pablo's story. He tells the little things that Keisha would try to do throughout all of the seasons, and she came up with the idea to come out with a single called Girls Are the World, and it was supposed to be released to coincide with the airing of the 5th episode of season 2 of Model Muse, and she was going to have the models in the music video. And so when I read that, I was like, I wonder if Tyra did that. She did. And it was season 2 of America's Next Top Model. And so then he talks about another idea with her hairstylist in the book, Keisha's hairstylist. And he said, you know, she's writing a novel. And, you know, she came up with the idea. And basically it's something about alien models. It was called Planet Fierce. And so I was like, surely, yep, she did. Tyra wrote a novel, and I have it marked on thrift books because I am going to read it and see what it's about. But I was just like, okay, we're really like exposing ourselves here. And I just think this is funny. There's a section, I'm not going to say what Pablo was doing, but there's a section where there was a bunch of celebrities tweeting out to him for something, and Jay put a tweet in there from himself. I'm like, okay, that's funny. You put yourself in the book. And then this is the only spoiler that I'm going to give. So if you actually want to read this book and find this out for yourself, skip this. But I mean, this is the most pertinent piece of evidence that I have about this book. And it's kind of like Jay is saying, you know, like, you know, since you read it. But Pablo is having a conversation with a contact in his phone that's called ICE text, in case you don't know, ICs in case of emergency. And he's having a conversation with him saying, you know, that he's having a really rough time, that Keisha is toxic for him. And so his, I'm going to say ICE because I think that's funny. His ICE text says that, don't do anything desperate. If you write a tell-all memoir, Keisha will vilify you mercilessly. And so I was like, okay. And then he goes on to say, the ICE says, I'm writing a book of my own, but it's a novel. You can have a lot more fun with that because it's all fiction. And so Pablo says, what's the novel about? And the ICE says, it's a dark comedic take on the extreme abuse of power that runs rampant in the TV biz and throughout society today. It's basically inspired by my life. They keep talking, and ICE gives more. And so Pablo says, oh, you're going there. ANTM fans are going to gobble it up. Which, if you don't know, ANTM is the abbreviation for America's Next Top Model. And then it's revealed that the ICE is none other than Jay Manuel. So I read that and I'm just like, I think that's him giving a little nod to the readers, like, you know what I'm doing. But, you know, legally he has to say that it's satire. But then he's just like, you know what I'm doing. But overall, I would say read this book if you are a really huge fan of America's Next Top Model, or if you were a really huge fan of America's Next Top Model. Was it the best thing I've ever read? No. Was it the worst thing I've ever read? No. I mean, it was pretty entertaining, but I mean, I enjoyed it, and I somehow got a signed copy. Like I said, I found this on thrift books. It was originally going to be $5, but where I've purchased so many things from there, I actually had a free book reward, so all I had to do was pay for shipping, so this came to like $2. So this was definitely worth the $2 that I spent. But judging by the back of the cover, it said that this was originally $17.95. Heck no. No. Don't pay full price for this. Find it on thrift books. Find it on eBay. Buy it used on Amazon. Find it elsewhere. But, you know, I commend Jay for being snarky of saying, like, this is totally fiction, and then putting that little thing in there. Like, I read that, and I was like, okay, I see you. Very clever. Who is this now? Tater. Anyway, you know, he makes some allegations in here, which again, I could not find any evidence for, so I did not include them in this video, and I wanted to give you something to read for yourself. But, you know, what I've read, some of it was very surprising, some of the allegations that he said, and if they are true, definitely need to be looked into. Some of the things that he said aren't that surprising. Yeah, I'm not going to do like a full-fledged review. I just thought it would be interesting to kind of go through and show you my research, because I love doing research, especially on things that interest me. So I had fun researching this, and it was very interesting. Every time he would say something, I'd be like, let's look it up and see if it happened, and it did. So that is that. If there are other books like that, not necessarily America's Next Top Model, but other books that I could do like research on and talk about them, I definitely will. But that is the end of this book, which the name, like, it's probably going to show up backwards for you all, but yeah, that I probably want to give that to my aunt, let her read it and see what she thinks about it. But that is the end of this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, that it was a little entertaining somehow. Moving forward, I want to do more book related things on the channel. As you can see, I've got a whole stack of to read books over here. So I want to start doing what I've read this month, talk about books that I love. Hopefully I will love every book that I read. I hate to read books that I hate, but, you know, talk about books, talk about other things. And yeah, so if you enjoyed this video of mine, please stick around to see others that I have done in the past and will do in the future. Also, if you want more of me, definitely check out my Instagram. I post a whole lot more on there, and you can really get to know me as a person through my Instagram. Let's see. Subscribe, you know, if you want to stick around and find other videos that I do. So let's see. Instagram, subscribe, stick around. I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and hopefully I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.
All that's left is a window to my soul. Come and get it.